Good morning, everybody. It is Tuesday, May 17th, 5:53 a.m. Central Time as I speak here. July corn futures down 7.25 at 802.5 last trade. December corn down 6.5 at 759. July soybeans down 2.75 at 1653.75. November beans down 3.5 at 1508.5. July Chicago wheat down 22.25 at 1225.25. July Kansas City wheat down 33 cents at 1319. July spring wheat is down 18.75 at 1366.5. If you guys are listening on the podcast, appreciate it. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, guys. Like these videos, leave me a comment, help me to continue to grow this thing. If you need some additional information from me, go to my website, www.standardgrain.com. Check out my premium subscription service. I send my premium subscribers a ton of information every single business day. You'll get my morning email, which goes out before 6 a.m. Central every day. All my grain marketing recommendations, a ton of weather info, charts, graphics. My daily subscriber-only videos go out every single business day, and on Sundays during the growing season, I do a weather update. Yesterday, I did a chart review and also discussed some cash wheat marketing. Whenever I recommend a sale in regard to cash grain, I always explain it in a video, which is something that my subscribers really like, I think, kind of explain the logic and the thought process. So if you guys are interested, give this deal a shot, $50 a month, cancel at any time. No other fee, no other obligation. Nobody will try to sell you anything else. U.S. corn planting is accelerating. The crop was 49% planted through Sunday versus 22 last week, still behind the 67% average, of course. But U.S. farmers planted 27% of the crop in 1 week, not half bad. This number, 49%, was very much on par with trade expectations, not a big surprise. Only 14% of the corn crop emerged nationally versus 5% last week and 32% on average. I think traders are especially concerned in regard to progress in the Northern Plains, Northwestern Corn Belt, North Dakota, and Minnesota in particular. I know a lot of people are already penciling in lower planted acres in both of those states. When you look at the state-by-state corn planting, Illinois is 55% done versus 70% on average. Iowa is 57% done with corn versus 80% on average. Indiana 40% versus 54% average. Ohio 31% versus 41% average. Minnesota 35% done with corn versus 72% on average. South Dakota 31% done versus 54% on average. North Dakota only 4% done versus 41% on average. Nebraska 62% versus 77% on average. Kansas 60% done with corn planting versus 64% on average. Missouri 65% versus 79% on average. So we're still below average just about everywhere. Again, I think North Dakota and Minnesota are of particular concern for a lot of people. U.S. soybean planting 30% complete versus 12% last week, 39% on average. So we're playing catch up there as well. Only 9% of that soybean crop emerged as of Sunday nationally versus 3% last week and 12% on average. U.S. winter wheat conditions declined. The trade actually expected a small improvement here. 27% of the crop rated good to excellent, down from 29% last week, way below the 51% average. This is a terrible rating. It's one of the worst we've seen in a long time. Declines on the week in conditions were noted in Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and South Dakota. A lot of your SRW states actually saw improvement on the week. That winter wheat crop, 48% headed versus 33% last week, 53% on average. The spring wheat crop is 39% planted, up from 27% last week, way behind the 67% average. Got some rains moving across South Dakota into Minnesota, parts of northern Iowa here this morning. These areas in southern Minnesota really don't need the rain, and this could further delay things in some areas, certainly. When you look at the next 7 days, southern Minnesota kind of wet, a lot of Missouri kind of wet, southern Illinois, a few pockets in Indiana here and there. But most of the Corn Belt is going to see, less than an inch of rain in total over the next 7 days. You look at the plains, your HRW wheat areas, which are already too dry and very much problematic. They're going to remain dry, not any relief there at all. There's going to be kind of a cold snap next week. North Dakota, Minnesota, South Dakota are going to get cold come, say, Tuesday, Wednesday next week. You may see some below freezing temperatures or something very close to it by Tuesday, Wednesday. So I still think this is a pretty good-looking forecast in regard to corn planting for most areas, again, barring some of these areas that maybe have rain coming through this morning. NOPA released April crush data yesterday. The National Oilseed Processors Association, that's NOPA, said that its members crushed 169.8 million bushels of soybeans in April. That was below trade expectations. The trade was looking for about 172.5. So that print was down 6.6% versus March, but actually up 5.9% versus the same month last year. To see a seasonal decline in April is very normal. Analysts noted that a lot of plants were idled for maintenance, so a little bit below expectations, but certainly not the end of the world. Crush margins still very good. The U.S. will back the United Nations in order to move Ukraine's grain to the world market. Now, they're supposed to be putting together some sort of plan here, but it doesn't really sound like they have much. The U.S. ambassador to the UN said that the United States will support efforts by the United Nations Secretary General to get Ukrainian grain back into the international marketplace amid the ongoing war. This Reuters piece this morning, or published late yesterday, did not provide any real details at all. Apparently, I guess the UN's Secretary General made some sort of inquiry to Russia and said that in exchange for allowing Ukrainian grain shipments, they'd maybe let Russia and Belarus export more fertilizer. Russia hasn't responded to this, so this may be kind of a non-starter here from the get-go. So they're talking about it, but no real action. U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, he's going to host a global food security call to action at the United Nations tomorrow. So a lot of talk here, but no real progress, no real plan from what I can tell. India will allow its wheat exporters to meet prior commitments, so pending shipments that had been submitted to Indian customs prior to May 13th will be cleared for export, according to the country's ag ministry. We kind of knew about some of this yesterday. There's some more details this morning. As noted yesterday, the government will also continue to allow shipments to Egypt because there was a prior agreement in place. I think a couple other countries included in that sort of deal. U.S. Ag Secretary Vilsack said yesterday that he has deep concern about India's wheat export ban. He said this: "What we need is transparency in the market. What we need is a market that is helping to get goods to those who are in need." I think that's just kind of a boilerplate comment. I don't know that he has any real plan of action there. The cattle market yesterday was higher in live cattle, lower in feeder cattle, not any real cash trade to speak of. The hog market was sharply higher yesterday, trying to recover after a nasty sell-off. U.S. dollar is sharply lower this morning, and we've got a sharply higher trade in the stock market. The S&P's up 62 points. The Dow's up 400. Bonds are off. Gold's up $12. Crude oil up 66 cents, 114.86 in the June WTI. Energy price is very strong. Everybody have a great day today. I'll talk to you guys same time tomorrow.